So what does it take to really build an online presence, to create a category where you are the prime resource professional?
Welcome to Fordify Live with your host, Saeks.
So in planning this episode, I thought, well, I need to find a guy that's what he specializes in. How do you build an online presence where you really stand out from the competitive edge? And so our guest today is Mike C-Roc, Ciorrocco. If I'm pronouncing your name right, I know I've known you, but I need to make sure. Say your name right for me.
Ciorrocco.
Okay, I said it right. Okay, good. And so we are live right now on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you have questions, you can enter the comments below. And if you're watching the replay on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell and all those good things. So Mike, tell me, what is That One Agency and what got you passionate about this?
Yeah, so That One is a brand, and the agency just is fortunate enough to carry that name, That One. That One is all about finding out who you are and stepping into it unapologetically. And, that's the premise of the brand. But really, the thing that started all this, I'll give you a little background here for it, is I was in the mortgage real estate space for 20 years, made millions, had 50 employees, 7 branches, hundreds of employees come through over the years, but at any moment, 50 some employees. And, from scratch, building something like that I never even thought I could go that as big as we did. I was unfulfilled. I'd come home, and I felt like I was a unit, so to speak, like a unit of measurement, so to speak, a commoditization, effect. And I was so unfulfilled. I have a beautiful wife, married 20 plus years, 2 healthy kids, house on the water, everything I thought I should have as a kid growing up. And something was missing. I was conflicted. And so what I started to realize is that I was not fulfilling what I was put here on this planet for. And so I think success is really stepping in and being who you're supposed to be. And I wasn't doing that. And, I think, I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but I think a lot of people identify with the vehicle that they're in versus who they are.
No, I would relate. I mean, if it was just me and you talking today, I mean, that's one of the things. We just had a meeting this morning. I mean, we looked at, I run the Prime Concepts Group, which is a creative marketing agency. And then I have the consulting, speaking, training, business. So I speak to a lot to franchise organizations and franchise brands and corporations and associations. But then a lot of times they're like, well, we don't want to do it. Can you just do it? And so after having 17 businesses myself, 3 were multi-million-dollar businesses. That doesn't mean profit, by the way. Gross revenues are not net profit, just to be clear for the listeners out there, or I would be, on an island in Fiji somewhere. So, what I found was I wasn't really fulfilled. And even just this as we're wrapping up the year here and looking at things for making 2024 the best year ever, I'm reevaluating that same thing right now. I'm 62 years old. I've been self-employed since I was 15. What's fulfilling? It's not just about making money. It's what is fulfilling. And so when you work with people, and again, I'm going to use this as my own little private consulting session here, even though we've got listeners all over the world. Where do you think people should start? I mean, I think you have a lot of listeners and viewers. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's the Business Growth Show. And so you can go to agency.com, thatoneagency.com, and you can check out Mike and learn more about That One. But so when you find people that contact you, how do they describe their situation?
Well, first of all, I've done over 600 episodes of my show called The What Are You Made Of Show. And interviewing successful people and really finding out the ingredients that have gone into making them, I started to realize this thing about people identifying with what they do. And the most challenging times in business owners' lives was when the thing that they were identifying with, their vehicle, when it crashed or they had a setback or it wasn't going as good as they thought it should, their identity was affected.
Yeah.
And so for me, I started stepping in. Okay, let me find out who I am. And then when I did that, I was like, oh, this is what it's all about, and stepping into it unapologetically. So when I work with someone and they come to me, I want to make sure they're not identifying with their vehicle, number one. I want to find out what their vision is and help cause and create a future with them. And we do that specifically with our niche, which is podcast booking. It's a high-end podcast agency, getting people on top 5% shows and above, and then teaching them how to leverage that attention. And so that's what we focus on in our agency. And then, of course, we expand out from there, but that's our main gig.
Well, I think that's really amazing. So, as we talked earlier before the episode started, that I've been in the National Speakers Association, and that's for speakers, authors, trainers, and experts. There's about 4,000 members nationwide, but there's hundreds of thousands of speakers, trainers, and experts out there. That just happens to be that one association. And I'm in marketing. I mean, people are good at a variety of things, but they're either good at marketing and sales, operations, or leadership, or they're good delivering the product. They're a practitioner, a chef, or whatever the expert is. And so I'm in that marketing and sales bucket. And for years, I've been telling people, you need a podcast. You need a podcast. And when I first started this podcast, not like you, I don't have 600 episodes. We're in like episode 250 or something. But when I started, I thought, well, gosh, how am I going to get followers? How am I going to get views? Do I want to just be a guest on other people's podcasts? Because that's a great way to expand the brand awareness, because it's not just when the episode goes live, it's the replays and it's the social proof, and people can Google it and see the other episodes, but it's also a prospecting tool. And so for me, it's been a relationship building tool, but I try to convince my colleagues that are experts that they really need a medium. And there's never been an opportunity like there is now with the technology. I mean, here I am I've got a 4K camera and a switcher and great microphones and good sound. And so you have the technical part, the tactical part, but then the strategic part. So I'd like to know more about the strategic part. So as a side note, I'd be a good prospect. I want to be on your show, and I want to figure out how do you scale the podcast, because by no means they can Google the numbers. I don't have millions of views, but I have had some really great guests and some really quality episodes that have opened the doors for other opportunities in the future. So when you do those podcast bookings, is your agency doing it, or are you teaching them how to do it?
No, we do it. It's a done for you service.
Gotcha.
However, I don't mind teaching people how to do it either, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to want to do it, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time and effort and relationships that go into it. And, I'll tell you this, I want everybody to know that's watching this, all celebrity. And when I say celebrity, I'm talking about celebrity in your space, right? Marketing is, you want to become that one in your industry, right? Like I put that in there, that one.
It was good. Yeah, it was good. Whoops, wrong button. I was gonna try to hit my sound effect, but I didn't hit it in time. Keep going.
All celebrity is manufactured, right? All celebrity is manufactured. So whether it's a podcast, whether it's your Instagram account, whether it's whatever, if you think about something and you see these people winning all around you and they're growing bigger, and you're like, why are they blowing up? I'm better than them. My service is better than them. I feel like the best kept secret. There's a game being played with rules that you don't know about. And you may not even know that there's a game being played. So let's just on Instagram, for example. We can do podcasts, but Instagram, for example. You may be on Instagram, have an Instagram account, and have hundreds of followers, or maybe thousands. And you see somebody else that has tens of thousands or 100,000 or a million. And you're looking at them and you're just like, the content's good. Mine's just as good. There is something going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. And what happened, I realized this overall, is that insecurities, which that's a type of insecurity, insecurities stem from lack of knowledge of something. And when you realize this, and I'll say it again, insecurities in life, business, anything, insecurities stem from a lack of knowledge of something. And so when you understand what I just said, now you know this, you can't unknow it. And it gives you a control of any insecurities you have. So podcasting is no different than Instagram. All these big, giant celebrities have manufactured their celebrity. And there's this right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. And so, some people buy followers. They can't back it up. The engagement's not there. You can tell, whatever. But then there's other ways to manufacture a little bit of following, let the organic catch up. There's methods to it. And so I want everybody to know this, that same thing with marketing. It's a strategy. There's rules to a game, and you got to learn the rules of the game so you can win the game.
I think that's just very well said. When someone comes to me from an agency standpoint and they want to build their digital footprint. So from an agency side, we'll help them with their brand. We'll help them with their sales funnels. We'll help them with identify their ideal client and create their sales dictionary so that they know how to sell. And then so that footprint really starts with their website, then their SEO, their Google business listings, their business directory listings, and then of course, social media. And the problem with it is when social media first came out, and let's call those 4,000 people in NSA, they might've been leadership speakers or, motivational speakers or marketing, whatever. But when social media came out, everybody with a laptop was an expert, right? I mean, everybody who had a YouTube channel, and now with AI and ChatGPT, I mean, I've been hired a lot recently to go out and speak on the disruption of AI and how it relates from a marketing perspective. And so, what, you know, and I use it for my podcast. When we're done with this episode, we transcribe it using Saeks. We write the show notes. We create the lead magnets. And then we create the short clips using Munch so that we can repurpose it on other sites. So it's repurposing. But at the end of the day, I always tell people it's the content. If you're not adding value or answering questions and being authentic. And my biggest problem, I mean, not using this as my own little consulting session, for me, it's really been the consistency, right? It's if you're going to do it, be consistent. So we've been consistent now with the Fordify show. We only go live once a week because that's the only thing we can actually manage. But we haven't repurposed it. We just had a meeting yesterday where we said, look, every episode, you know, we need to get the guest. We need to write the guest post. We need to create the graphics for the guests so that they can promote the episode. And, you know, so we have all these lists, but the execution isn't there, right? So, you know, getting you a great guest that's really popular in this space, especially with this type of topic, I encourage you that if you're listening or watching this episode, check out thatoneagency.com and see what his services are so that you can learn from him. Because again, if he's got 600 episodes up there, which episodes is your favorite? But so now we know that there's rules. What would you say are some of the rules that they really can't break? What are like the non-negotiable? You really have to make sure that you do this, this, and this.
All right. So number one is you have to be willing to play the game. Okay. So there is some manufacturing involved. Okay. I'm going to say that for example, Instagram, podcast, the same thing, YouTube channels. There are things that when you hear it, you're going to be like, I don't want to pay to do it. And that's the worst thing in business you can say, really, is like, I don't want to pay to do it. If you're not willing to invest in yourself and your mission, I got news for you. You're not going to go very far. So I would say the number one rule is if you don't want to break is you must invest in yourself is one of the rules. You must invest. There is pay to play in speaking, in the speaking world.
Yep.
How many times have you paid to speak on a stage that was going to benefit you by advertising, sponsorships, whatever the case is? And a lot of people don't realize that, and they go to that event and they don't know that you paid to be on that stage. I've done it a lot. Most people have done it. But there's a pay to play thing. It's investing in yourself. You're looking at, if I invest in this, what am I going to get back from it? Is it worth for my business to invest in this and the exposure and what have you? So I think that's the number one rule. But one other thing I want to tell you, most people underestimate the amount of effort it takes to become known. Most people underestimate the amount of content that you need to produce. You see, you talked about one show a week. I started that back in the day. But then I started thinking, you know what? I'm competing with other people that are doing one show a week. Some are doing 2 shows a week. Let me do 5 to 8 shows a week and see what happens. And I just started pumping it and then repurposing the episodes, repurposing not just the episodes that I do, but when I go on somebody else's show, I'll say, hey, Ford, do you mind sending me that raw content? My team will create some. You create some content, we'll have twice the amount of content. And I do that every time. And so now every time I do a show, whether I'm on as a guest or host, I'm taking that content and repurposing it. And I want to take that content and squeeze it to get as much out of it as possible.
You know, it's so true. I mean, I'm a colleague of mine in the YouTube space. I've got a lot of people that are experts in each space. Like I've got some of the top experts in LinkedIn, the top experts on YouTube. I've got people on YouTube that are clients that have just hundreds of millions of views. Not that we created, to be very clear, transparent, but they've really cracked the code. And one of the guys his name is Nate Woodbury, and he really understands YouTube. And so Nate came to me with a program, and I won't give away numbers or anything. You guys can Google him and check him out who he is. But basically it was a pay to play program, and I would fly in every quarter to his office, and we would do, I think it was 50 episodes, 2 to 5 minute long. And they would write them, and we would do it. No teleprompter, but you just do the content. And then they said to get the algorithm in YouTube to trigger, you had to post 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, SEO optimized, all that. And after about 6 months, you'd all of a sudden see the hockey stick growth. Like if you were consistently, but you had to do it for at least 6 months. So that's why you would fly in every quarter. They would film and they'd get a batch of videos, and then, they would have videos to produce. So they would film the episodes, edit, cut, and publish on your YouTube channel, and they did the math. Now, when I did the math, I'm like, that's a pretty good investment to own a category and to scale. But I think that's really the key is people do underestimate what does it really take to move the numbers. I mean, we've stuck our toe in the water on TikTok. I mean, we got like 300 followers or some stupid amount, but it's not consistent. And, I spoke 5 times in the past 60 days. So I did 5 keynotes across the country for major brands that if I named, I mean, they're popular brands. It got paid high fees. I got all that footage, brought it back to my digital marketing manager, my producer for this show. And I'm like, guys, we just met on this yesterday. We need to repurpose this. And we made a whole map because this is what I teach everybody else to do, right? So it's like the plumber with leaky pipes, saying we need to do it. So I really believe that you're making a really solid point is one, you got to be consistent. You got to understand the rules and you need to outsource to people that are experts in their field because that's going to save you so much time trying to reinvent the wheel.
100%. And by the way, what we do at That One Agency, we also help with content reproduction, repurposing. And the fee to do that is less than you would pay somebody to hire internally to do it. And they're experts and they do it all the time already. And so you're guaranteed results.
That's
so
great.
Like for me, there's no excuse to do something one time and not repurpose it. That's to me is like a cardinal sin. Yes. In marketing. I can't like ever think about that. That's got to be something that's like, you know what I mean? It's just a fact, non-negotiable. So one thing I wanted to throw out there, when I was speaking on stage, if I went to an event, I would make it a requirement that I had to have my guy there too. My videographer had to be there, because, they have their stuff, they own it, but like I have to have my stuff because if I'm going to go spend my time, that is way too valuable beyond just the audience of that show. Like when I'm on a podcast for it, I don't care the audience. If somebody's just starting a podcast, I'll go on that show. I said yes every single time.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised. Like when you agreed to my show, I'm like, has he looked at my numbers?
No. I'm talking about somebody that's a young kid, just started a show. I'll say yes. Number one, I'll be a hero to that kid.
Yeah.
Because like he's not thinking I'll say yes. Number two, it's somebody interviewing me. So to me, I would have to hire somebody generally to interview me for video content. I'll take that content and repurpose it. And now like I'll get legs out of it.
That's true.
So to me, and by the way, I've been on over 922 shows in the last 4 years. Okay?
Wow.
So the volume, I'm telling you these numbers for volume so people understand the amount of effort it takes to get known and become omnipresent. And my goal with this, when I first started, by the way, about 4.5 years ago, I watch Gary Vee at my leg, Grant Cardone. I watched all these guys do their thing, right? And what I figured out with the first episode I ever went on, I was a guest. I had all these cognitions happen, all these aha moments, like, wow, this is powerful. My confidence went up when I was being interviewed. I knew that if they publish this, it's going to go on Google. My name, if somebody ever wants to work with me, is going to Google search me. Bam, all these shows are going to be listed if I consistently go on shows. What I talk about's in the title. So people can get to know me, like me, and trust me before they even meet me, right? I had that. I was like, okay, so I'm just going to lean into this. Number two, the repurposing I already mentioned. Number three, if somebody sees you being interviewed over and over and over again by different people, your credibility and authority go through the roof. It's this is the most effective and efficient way to market your business, podcasting. So I just believe in it. So I want to make sure people understood. I wanted to take that content when I repurpose it and become omnipresent to the people that matter in my business. And I know that's what you work with your people. Like when you're your clients, you're just saying, listen, we got to get in the minds and hearts of the people that matter for our business. Not 8 billion people. We don't need 8 billion people to know who we are. Only the people that matter for our business. We need to become omnipresent so that if they go knock on their neighbor's door, right, and they say to the neighbor, hey, you know who Ford Saeks is? I hope I pronounced your name right.
You did great. Good job.
You know who Ford Saeks is? And they're like, no, who's Ford? The neighbor says, no, I don't know who Ford is. Who is that? And they're like, are you kidding me? You don't know who Ford is? In their mind, you're so omnipresent that they can't believe their neighbor hasn't heard of you. So that's the intention that I always lead with for my personal brand and my companies and then my clients. So
this is so great, and we're definitely going to have you back if you're open to it in the future. So when you think about repurposing, one of the things I tell my clients is fish where the fish are, because one of the things they always ask me is, should I be on Facebook? Should I be on YouTube? And should I be on LinkedIn and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and Pinterest? And I always tell them this: fish where the fish are. But like even this show, so we do the Fordify episode. This is live Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We broadcast using StreamYard. So it allows us to put the episode out to all those platforms live at one time. And then my team is monitoring the comments on the different platforms. And then when we get the episode, then we transcribe it and that becomes the text. And then we use Sonics to get the audio. And then we use Audition to get the audio track. And then that becomes the podcast that we put on Libsyn. Now we're doing the basics. So I would call that level one. We're publishing content. But where we have seriously failed, and I'll own it. Look, everybody, I mean, anybody who knows me, you know, what you see on stage, what you see on this is me, this is who I am. I don't talk this fast on a keynote, but again, you know, I'm excited and passionate about this topic. But where we have really dropped the ball, and I'll own it, is in the repurposing of these episodes. And I've had I had the CEO of Marvel Studios who took the company from 300 million to 4 billion, Peter Cuneo, on my episode. And so, I mean, I'm getting people that, I mean, how do I get people like that on the show? Someone so we've done the episodes, but we haven't repurposed it. So here's the bigger question. When you go to do it, have you found that so you need to know the rules, but is there one platform that you prefer more than others? And the reason I'm asking is because if someone asked me that question, I would say, well, they definitely need to repurpose it for YouTube. They need to make shorts, which we haven't done any shorts on our episodes. We've got a couple hundred episodes and we haven't done any shorts. So one, I would say YouTube because Google owns it. So my instinct would say YouTube because Google owns it. And then right now, I believe that TikTok, because more people are watching time on TikTok now than even some of the other places. They're even using it as a search engine. So TikTok, even though some people think it's the Antichrist and they hate it, I think it's a market that has captured eyeballs and time. So correct me, add to it. Where do you feel someone, or do you feel like they have to just hire someone to do it everywhere?
Yeah. So if you think about it, YouTube Shorts, TikToks, and Instagram Reels are all similar format. So if you create one video that's in that format, you should put it on all three of them.
Right.
Right. But at the end of the day, you know, like you said, where's the fish at? Where's the fish? I always like to know who my audience is.
Right. Who's your ideal client?
Business, right. Clearly define. And then where do they hang out?
Right.
Where do they hang out, man? And then that's where I'm going. Now, the other thing is that now they're hanging out in all different places. So guess what? Go all the different places. And if you can't handle it right now yourself, pick the one that would be the most beneficial for you for where your fish are. But then once you get a team, like we have a team, and I'll share with you as well what we do. I'm an open book and I want to help people. By the way, I'm obsessed. When I wake up in the morning, I just want to help people with information I have, my wisdom that I have that I've accumulated from other mentors of mine or experiences. I'm obsessed with it. So, we make it very easy. That format goes on all three of those platforms. And then we'll just make sure we post it on all three of those platforms. We might change up the caption, or YouTube Shorts might need a little bit more for the search optimization. But at the end of the day, man, like if you just get it on all of them, do it.
That makes so much sense. So any final thoughts? I mean, the episode went fast. I can't believe we've moved forward almost a 20-minute episode here. Well, any final thoughts? Now, for those listeners, I'm just going to say this as I'm thinking. I'm going to be checking it out for sure. Thatoneagency.com. Can they find information there? Can they connect with you there and find out more how they can, use your products and services?
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one, agency.com. You can check it out. But also Instagram. I'm very, very active on Instagram. Mikey C-Roc. You can find me there. DM me. I'm in the DMs all the time. And by the way, if people aren't using DMs to prospect and network with people, they're crazy. Like I literally, this is no exaggeration, 5 to 8 15-minute, I call them 15 minis, 15-minute Zoom calls with total strangers that I meet on Instagram on a daily basis, finding out what they're working on right now that's got them excited, what their future, what their vision is, and how I can help cause and create futures for them.
So if you're going to prospect, break that down. We're going to go a little longer. It's my show. We can do that. So if someone wanted to do that, because I get those LinkedIn messages and Instagram, messages. Hey, what are you working on? What's really exciting? And I'm like, spam. So yeah, hypothetically, what's the strategy you're using for Instagram to build those relationships?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it's important, number one, to create a Instagram account that looks good. right? Perception is everything. So if somebody goes to my page or your page or anybody's Instagram, what's the first thing they look at?
Don't go to my page, everybody. Just stay away from my page. Mine's not the example.
What's the first thing they look at, though?
Right. They look at the profile photos and the main 3 photos at the top of the page, right?
Followers.
Oh yeah. For social proof, they want to know. Yeah, that's the first thing I look at. It when I open up TikTok. I'm like, how many followers does that person have?
And it's BS. I don't like it, but guess what? That's the game.
It's social proof. Yeah.
So you can either play it or whine and cry about it. So I play it. So I figure out, okay, if our following matters, because that's the first thing people look at, I need to make sure my followers are up. And what do I got to do that? Right? Boost up the followers, figure out the strategy and do it the right way, which we know how to do. I can help people with that. From there, I make sure the content looks good that's on there because I got to represent well. Yep. And then after that, when I'm messaging people, they're going to go there. They're going to see if I'm legit. But my messaging is always edification first. I noticed your content. I got sucked in. I contributed to your notifications. And I'm looking forward to following up with you in the future because you're awesome. And most people see that and they're like, well, thank you. I mean, and that's it. I don't try to set up a call with them the first message. I just try to edify them and congratulate them on their content that it got me, you know? And then from there, I have a system where we keep track of when we message them. So the next 2 days later, I'll message them again if they didn't respond. If they respond, we have a different message and I'll send them another message. And it's basically guiding them into a 15-minute connection call just to explore synergy.
Yeah, I do that. I do that, right? I do something similar on LinkedIn. So if I identified ideal clients or prospects or meeting planners that I want to speak for, I don't ever connect with them. I don't ask to connect or something like that. What I'll do is I'll see if they're active. And if they aren't active on LinkedIn, but maybe they had a media release, then I'll do, user generated content, congratulating them on their success of their company and using it as a case study. Cause again, I'm in marketing, so it's congruent for me to talk about something that somebody scaled or opened up a new facility or something. And then I'll tag them in the message. And so that way, when they join LinkedIn, when they open up LinkedIn for the day on their phone or on their computer, it says Saeks has tagged you in a message. Well, everybody's always going to go see what they did. So I either create user-generated content or I go straight and I make comments on their content, like you said, edify them, to share, thank them. And that's how I got the CEO or the previous CEO of Marvel Studios, because he's semi-retired and he's writing a book and he's doing a podcast on leadership, but he hadn't launched it yet. And so I reached out and had him on the show, but he had announced he'd done a media release that he was going to do a show. So I knew he wasn't, experienced at it. So I was like, hey, do you want to be on my show? And of course they didn't know any better. So they're like, sure, let's be on the show. Right. Exactly. I don't think it was a strategic offer, but that's how I did it. But
that's an offer of some kind of value. Like I use my show all the time for top of funnel to give value to people, give exposure. And then what I do on the show is like you're doing, ask questions and learn, but I'm also building relationship with people.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, listen, if I want to message somebody too, that's already like advanced and like done some amazing things, I'll say, listen, Ford, I'm doing amazing things and I see you're doing amazing things. We have to connect. Like, let's just jump on a 15-minute Zoom call. No harm, no foul. Let's explore synergy. And the thing is that most people get hung up on that answer from people. And they'll say, oh man, Ford doesn't answer. Like it must not work. I'm not like that. I'm like, I'm going to do this 150,000 times. And I know if I do it 150,000 times, there's going to be some, because people they think that person's the only great person that they can ever connect with. It's not. There's 8 billion people on this planet, man. We got to think in a bigger fashion.
Well, you just shared some golden nuggets. I really appreciate it. And again, if you're listening on the podcast, go to That One Agency. Mike, and he goes by C-Roc, and I just think this has been amazing. I could talk to you all day. Stick around after we do the show ending. I want to ask you a couple quick questions, but thanks everybody for being here, and look forward to us on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central Time, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook.
Thank you for tuning in to Fordify Live. Make sure to like, comment, and share this episode on your favorite social media platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the Business Growth Show podcast, available wherever you get your podcast streaming fix. We air weekly at 11 a.m. Central Time. So until next week, keep pushing the boundaries and never stop growing.